Biologically significant amines.
Neurotransmitters, the chemical messengers of the nervous system, carry nerve impulses from one nerve cell or neuron to another. A neuron consists of many different parts, but the critical junction is at the synapse, the gaps between the ends of two neurons. The released neurotransmitter molecules diffuse across the synapse and bind to receptors of the next neuron. Once the neurotransmitter binds to the receptor, the chemical message has been delivered. In the central nervous system, the brain and spinal cord, the most important neurotransmitters are acetylcholine, norepinephrine, dopamine, and serotonin. Neurotransmitters are not only chemical messengers for the nervous system, they may also be partly responsible for our moods. A simplified biochemical theory of mental illness is based on two amines found in the brain, norepinephrine and serotonin. When an excess of norepinephrine is formed in the brain, the result is a feeling of elation. Extreme excesses of norepinephrine can even induce a manic state, while low epinephrine levels may be a cause of depression. Several different receptors in the body can be activated by norepinephrine and related compounds. The major role of norepinephrine as a neurotransmitter is to work in tandem with the hormone epinephrine to prepare the brain and body for action in high stress scenarios. A class of drugs called beta blockers reduces the stimulant action of epinephrine and norepinephrine on various kinds of cells. Some beta blockers are used to treat cardiac arrhythmias, angina, and hypertension or high blood pressure. They function by slightly decreasing the force of each heartbeat. Depression is sometimes a side effect of using such drugs. You can see the structure of dopamine here. Dopamine, again, being a neurotransmitter that's involved in motivating an individual to behave in a way that results in a reward. And if you look at the amine in dopamine, you can see that it is a primary amine. In a complex multi-step process, the amino acid tyrosine is used in the body to synthesize norepinephrine. And you can see the structure of norepinephrine here, and it, like dopamine, is also a primary amine. Serotonin has been found to influence sleeping, the regulation of body temperature, and sensory perception, but its exact role in mental illness is not yet clear. Drugs such as fluoxetine and escitalopram, called selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors or SSRIs, block serotonin from being reabsorbed and increase levels of the neurotransmitter. SSRIs are sometimes used to treat depression, anxiety, and obsessive compulsive disorder. A better understanding of the biochemistry of the brain may lead to better medications for treating various forms of mental illness. Epinephrine or adrenaline has a molecular structure similar to norepinephrine. The difference is that epinephrine contains an N-methyl group, and you can see that N-methyl group right here. Epinephrine is more important as a hormone than as a neurotransmitter. It is synthesized in the adrenal gland and acts to increase the blood level of glucose, a key source of energy for body processes. The release of epinephrine, usually in response to pain, anger, or fear, provides glucose for a sudden burst of energy. For this reason, epinephrine has been called the fight or flight hormone. Epinephrine also raises blood pressure. It does this by increasing the rate and force of heart contractions and by constricting the peripheral blood vessels. Injectable local anesthetics usually contain epinephrine because it constricts blood vessels in the vicinity of the injection. This prevents the blood from rapidly washing the anesthetic away and prolongs the anesthetic effect in the target tissue. Epinephrine is also used to reduce hemorrhage, treat asthma attacks, and combat anaphylactic shock, the collapse of the circulatory system. Amphetamine, also known as benzedrine, is a powerful nervous system stimulant with an amine structure similar to that of epinephrine. And you can see the structure of amphetamine. Amphetamine is right here. And so if you put a methyl group on the nitrogen of amphetamine, then you have methamphetamine. Both compounds contain an aromatic ring attached to a substituted ethylamine. That structural arrangement, sometimes referred to as a phenethylamine, is present in several physiologically active compounds. These structural similarities lead to similar behaviors in the body. Both compounds raise glucose levels in the blood and increase pulse rate and blood pressure. Other closely related phenethylamine compounds, such as methadone, also act as powerful nervous system stimulants. Compounds of this type can be thought of as being derived from amphetamine and are, as a result, sometimes collectively referred to as amphetamines. Amphetamines are used both legally, as prescribed by a doctor, and illegally to elevate mood or reduce fatigue. The abuse of such drugs like methamphetamine results in severe detrimental effects both on the body and on the mind. They're addictive and concentrate in the brain and nervous system. Abusers often experience hallucinations, long periods of sleeplessness, weight loss, and paranoia. Abusers of amphetamines often compound their problems by taking other drugs in order to prevent the crash or deep depression brought on by discontinuation of the drug. Plants are the sources of some of the most powerful drugs known. Numerous indigenous people in the world possess knowledge about the physiological effects that result from eating or chewing the leaves, roots, flowers, or bark of certain plants. The effects vary from plant species to plant species. Some cure diseases, others, like opium, are addictive drugs. Some others are deadly poisons, such as the leaves of the belladonna plant and the hemlock herb. The substances responsible for these marked physiological effects are often nitrogen containing compounds called alkaloids. The name, which means alkali like, reflects that these amine compounds are weakly basic. The molecular structure of alkaloids vary from simple to complex. Two common relatively simple alkaloids are nicotine, which is found in tobacco, and caffeine, which is present in coffee and soft drinks. Many people absorb nicotine into their bodies as a result of smoking and chewing tobacco. In small doses, nicotine behaves like a stimulant and is not especially harmful. It's habit forming, however, and habitual tobacco users are exposed to other harmful substances like tars, carbon monoxide, and polycyclic carcinogens. Besides coffee and cola drinks, other sources of caffeine are tea, chocolate, and cocoa. Caffeine is a mild stimulant of the respiratory and nervous systems, the reason for its well known side effects of nervousness and insomnia. These characteristics, together with its behavior as a mild diuretic, account for the use of caffeine in a wide variety of products, including pain relievers, cold remedies, diet pills, and energy drinks. Because caffeine is considered to be a drug, women who are pregnant should be prudent about how much caffeine they consume. Like most other drugs, caffeine enters the bloodstream, crosses the placental barrier, and reaches the fetus. A number of alkaloids are used medicinally. Quinine, for example, is used to treat malaria. Atropine is used as a preoperative drug to relax muscles and reduce the secretion of saliva in surgical patients, and to dilate the pupil of the eye in patients undergoing eye examinations. You can see the structures of quinine and atropine in the textbook. Opium, the dried juice of the poppy plant, has been used for centuries as a pain-killing drug. It contains numerous alkaloids, including morphine and its methyl ether codeine. Both are central nervous system depressants, with codeine being much weaker. They exert a soothing effect on the body when administered in sufficient amounts. These properties make them useful painkillers. Morphine is especially useful in this regard, being one of the most effective painkillers known. Codeine is used in some cough syrups to depress the action of the cough center in the brain. The major drawback to using these drugs is that they are all addictive. Heroin, you can see here, is just a derivative of morphine and codeine, right? You can see that the only difference between heroin and morphine is you replace the hydroxyls on morphine with an acetyl group here. Although intended at one time as a less addictive substitute for morphine, heroin is actually much more addictive than morphine and has no accepted medical use in the United States. And so that brings us to the end of chapter 9. So you should be able to name an alcohol. You should be able to classify an alcohol as primary, secondary, or tertiary. You should be able to explain hydrogen bonding. You should be able to predict what's going to happen when an alcohol reacts with different acids or bases. You should be able to write the chemical equations for alcohol dehydration and oxidation. You should be able to list some uses for some different alcohols. Students should be able to name ethers using their common names. They should be able to describe physical and chemical properties of ethers, assign common names to simple amines, classify amines as being primary, secondary, or tertiary, predict the products when amines react with acids or bases, explain how hydrogen bonding influences the physical properties of amines, and describe the uses of three different crucial biological amines.